a sanctuary anchored in shifting stone. From a distance, the cliffs look eternal, solid walls of stone rising from the sea, unmoved by time or tide. But up close, the truth reveals itself in quiet fractures and fallen shards. These cliffs are always changing, shedding, settling, reshaping themselves grain by grain. And into this slow collapse, a hotel was anchored where stone itself refused to stay still. The sight was breathtaking and dangerous in equal measure. Sheer rock, faces dropped into deep water. Salt winds carved the surface relentlessly. Hairline cracks traced unpredictable paths through the stone. Geologists warned that the cliffs were stable only in the way mountains age, by constantly letting go. To understand why this hotel exists at all, we need to return to the first surveys. Core samples revealed layers of rock with different densities and stress histories. Some expanded with heat. Others fractured under salt intrusion. Micro shifts occurred daily as temperature, moisture, and gravity negotiated control. The stone was not collapsing. It was migrating. Traditional anchoring systems failed in simulation. Bolts loosened over time. Anchors transferred stress into surrounding rock, accelerating fracture. The more tightly the structure was fixed, the faster the cliff rejected it. The stone did not tolerate force. It tolerated patience. The breakthrough came when engineers reframed the idea of anchoring entirely. Instead of fixing the hotel to the cliff, they proposed suspending it within the stone's movement. Anchors would not clamp rigidly. They would slide, rotate, and redistribute load as the rock shifted. The structure would be held, not pinned. Designs evolved into a network of adaptive anchors, each capable of minute adjustment. When one section of rock moved, the load would migrate through the system, never concentrating enough to cause failure. The hotel would remain balanced even as its point of contact slowly changed position. But this approach unsettled everyone involved. Could guests trust a building anchored to stone that was actively breaking apart? Could safety exist where stability was defined not by stillness, but by constant recalibration? As construction advanced, the cliffs answered in their own way. Small rockfalls occurred, expected, monitored, harmless. Anchors adjusted, loads shifted, the system worked. Yet beneath the confidence, one fear remained. What would happen when the cliff released something larger? The answer would arrive not through theory, but through gravity, when the stone decided to let go. The first significant release came at night, when temperature differences tightened their grip on the cliff. A section of stone fractured along an old seam and dropped into the sea below. The sound echoed to the darkness, brief, final, unmistakable. Inside the hotel, nothing moved. Sensors detected the change instantly. One anchor lost contact as the stone it relied on disappeared. Load transferred smoothly across the network, redistributing weight without shock. The building did not lurch. It did not tilt. It simply adjusted, as if the missing stone had always been accounted for. The team gathered at dawn to inspect the site. Where rock had fallen, new surfaces were exposed, rough, unstable, unfinished. The cliff had not failed catastrophically. It had shed exactly what it no longer wanted to hold. This event shifted the emotional landscape of the project. Fear gave way to understanding. The cliff was not unpredictable. It was honest. It released stress when it needed to, without warning but without malice. The hotel's survival depended on accepting that honesty. Yet conflict emerged when analysis showed an uncomfortable truth. Over time, more anchors would lose their original contact points. The structure could adapt, but only within limits. Eventually, the cliff would erode enough that the system would require reconfiguration. Some argued this made the project irresponsible. A hotel that depended on ongoing geological change, they said, could never be permanent. Others countered that permanence had never been promised. The building was designed to exist within a process, not outside it. The breakthrough came from redefining longevity. Instead of designing the hotel to last unchanged for centuries, the team designed it to be maintained through migration. Anchors were made replaceable. Contact points could be relocated deeper into stable layers as erosion progressed. The hotel would slowly retreat inland over decades, following the cliff's evolution rather than resisting it. This idea transformed the project from a static object into a living system with a lifespan measured in movement. The hotel would never collapse suddenly. It would age visibly, transparently, in step with the stone. As this philosophy took hold, something unexpected happened. Guests testing the site felt safer, knowing the truth. They could see anchor systems. They could feel the subtle recalibration beneath their feet. Transparency replaced illusion. The cliff was not hidden. It was acknowledged, but the sea was patient. Erosion continued. Salt worked its way deeper. Gravity never rested. And one final test remained. A release large enough to challenge not just a single anchor, but the entire system's ability to adapt. The cliff was preparing to let go again. And this time, the change would be impossible to ignore. The warning signs appeared weeks before the release. Fine cracks widened along a section of cliff beneath the hotel's eastern span. Moisture seeped deeper into the stone, carrying salt into fractures that had been dormant for decades. Sensors tracked the changes quietly, their data drawing a shape no one wanted to see too clearly. A larger shift was coming. Engineers debated intervention. Some proposed reinforcing the area, stabilizing the rock before it failed. Others argued that interference would only redirect stress elsewhere, triggering an even less predictable release. The cliff had already shown how it preferred to resolve tension. By letting go, the emotional weight of that decision pressed heavily on the team. Choosing not to intervene felt like negligence, even though the data suggested restraint was a safer path. To watch instability and do nothing went against every instinct trained into them. Then the sea decided for them. After days of heavy swell, a massive section of stone detached just before dawn. It was not a collapse, but a controlled surrender, a slab sliding away from the cliff face and disappearing into the water below. The sound rolled along the coast like distant thunder. Inside the hotel, systems reacted in milliseconds. 3 anchor points disengaged simultaneously. Loads flowed to the remaining network, redistributing across deeper, more stable contact zones. The structure dipped a fraction, then leveled. No alarms blared. No panic spread. The hotel absorbed the loss as part of its design. When daylight revealed the new cliff face, the change was dramatic. A raw scar of exposed stone stretched beneath the hotel, the sea foaming where a rock had fallen. The building now hovered over emptiness where solid ground had existed hours before, and still it stood. The true emotional climax arrived not in the moment of release, but in its aftermath. Engineers reviewed the data and found no critical stress. Guests reported sleeping through the event, unaware that the cliff beneath them had fundamentally changed. The system had not just survived, it had proven its philosophy. By accepting impermanence, the hotel had avoided catastrophe. By allowing stone to leave when it needed to, the structure remained whole. Control had not saved it. Adaptation had. Yet, one final question lingered. If the cliff continued its retreat, as inevitably would, how long could the hotel follow before even adaptability reached its limit? The answer would come not from the next release, but from the long, quiet years ahead, when patience would matter more than any single moment of drama. In the years that followed, the cliff continued its slow retreat. Storm by storm, season by season, the stone reshaped itself without urgency or apology. And with each subtle change, the hotel adjusted, not dramatically, but deliberately, migrating inland by design rather than by emergency. Anchors were relocated one by one, always ahead of failure. Old contact points were retired, their absence marked not as loss, but as progress. Guests could see the evolution etched into the structure itself. Subtle shifts in position, altered sight lines, new relationships with the sea below. The hotel aged openly, without pretending to be timeless. That honesty became its greatest strength. Visitors described a rare sense of trust. They knew the cliff was changing. They could hear waves striking freshly exposed stone. They could see the anchor systems quietly recalibrating. Instead of fear, they felt inclusion, part of a story still being written. The true climax revealed itself over time, not in spectacle. Despite continuous erosion, the hotel never experienced a crisis. There was no dramatic evacuation, no sudden failure. Every release was anticipated, absorbed, and translated into gentle repositioning. By accepting that the land would always let go, The building learned how to let go too. The sanctuary anchored in shifting stone was never meant to outlast the cliff. It was meant to follow it. And that is the lesson it leaves behind. That permanence is not measured by how long something stays exactly where it began, but by how gracefully it adapts as the world reshapes itself beneath it. That safety does not require denial of change, but intimacy with it. And that sometimes the strongest structures are those that know when to move, when to release, and when to trust gravity to do what it has always done. Sometimes the smallest shift in perspective becomes the beginning of a new future.